Hi guys, welcome back. I actually wanted to do a chatty get ready with me type video, but then my friend called me and he wouldn't stop chatting for like 2 hours, so I decided to just get on with it and record voiceover later. I hope you guys don't mind. I actually started with my makeup in the right order this time. I started with the e.l.f. brow lift to fluff up and set down my brows. I do really love this product for setting them down in place, but the one thing I would say is that just be careful that you don't have like a lot of excess product all through your brows, because if you leave chunks of the stuff in your brows, it can dry and kind of look like white bits. Next I went in with the NYX, I think it's called Lift and Snatch brow pen. This is good for drawing really fine hair-like strokes. I use the shade Ash Brown. And of course, we can never forget the number one anti-aging product, my SPF. This is the Garnier Super UV SPF 50. I think it's called Invisiveil serum or something like that. I wanted to give the SPF some time to absorb, so I moved straight onto the eyes. This is the number 7 eye primer. I always apply an eye primer from the lash line and all the way up to my brow. This just ensures that the area is consistent in terms of colour, and also means that the whole area is ready for eyeshadow. So if I decide to do a look where I use eyeshadow all the way up to my brow bone, everything should apply and blend in the same way because it has the same base. I'm smiling here because my friend is totally cracking me up on the phone. I'm kind of switching between my eyes and my brows at this point, but next I did go in with the e.l.f. Wow Brow, I think it was. And as my SPF had then absorbed, I went in with the Vieve Skin Nova as my primer. This is a skincare makeup hybrid product, so I believe you can apply it before SPF. I think that's what Jamie Genevieve does. However, I just really like adding it on top of my SPF. I don't think it really matters in the overall finish of everything. I set the eye primer down with the Vieve Modern Powder Perfector and then applied a transition shade from this mini number 7 palette all over the lid and into the crease. Technically, you could set the eye primer with the transition shade, but I just prefer going in with like a translucent or a light coloured powder first, just to ensure that I'm getting even coverage and colour when I apply the eyeshadow. I then applied the middle brown from the palette onto the outer lid and into the crease. This just starts to create some depth and definition with the eye look. I then applied the darkest brown shade on the outer lid and the outer crease. I used a more dense brush for the darkest shade to focus the colour in particular areas, and then I used a larger, fluffier brush to blend all of the edges. Next I applied the L'Oreal Telescopic mascara and used like one of those lash brushes to kind of get the clumps out, because I'm not sure if it had dried up slightly or something, but my lashes turned out a little bit more clumpy than I would like. Then I used one of my favourite base products, the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation in the shade Mont Blanc. This is probably one of the best base products I own for my skin in terms of shade match. I may have talked about this in a previous video, but basically I have like an olive, like a greeny undertone to my skin. You can't always see it in my face because I have a lot of redness due to rosacea and eczema. But if you look at my neck, I have a very distinctive kind of greeny tone, and it's very hard to find foundations that match. So this one is slightly darker than my neck, but sometimes I actually prefer that, because when I choose products that match my neck exactly, they can kind of make me look very washed out and ghostly in the face. Sometimes I like to go in with a brush first for coverage. The brush I'm using here is the Vieve foundation brush. The bristles are very densely packed and the brush is also domed, which really helps with blending the product in. I always finish my base application with a damp beauty sponge to ensure even coverage and finish. Next, I use the Fenty Matchsticks contour stick in amber to define my cheekbones. For some reason, I don't really know why, I decided to bring it down lower than I normally would into like the hollows of my cheeks. I'm not really sure why I did that, to be honest. I don't know if I'd seen someone else do it and wanted to give it a go, but anyway, that's what I did. Then I used a nudestix bronzer stick. I believe this is from one of their mini sets, and I think this shade may be terracotta tan, but I don't have the products with me right now and I can't find exactly which set I used online. Then I added some colour to my cheeks with the Fenty Petal Poppin' Blush, the cream blush version. This is actually one of the only pink blushes that I wear and think it looks really nice, because I I guess my skin leans more warm, I tend to gravitate more towards like red and coral blush shades. Another pretty random thing I decided to do this time was to apply my setting spray before I'd even done my concealer or my powder or anything. I don't know if I had an idea in my head about why I was doing that at the time, but maybe just to add extra hold or something to my makeup and make sure that it lasts, or to maybe help my concealer blend in better. I actually don't know. Anyways, I used the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Madeleine, and I blended this in with the Rare Beauty concealer brush. The more I use this brush, the more I love it. It's got like a really specific shape that's ideal for getting into those tight spaces under and around your eyes. Then just to make sure everything's blended seamlessly, like between my concealer, my foundation and my blush, I just go back in with the foundation brush. This was also a pretty rogue choice, considering that I already had my Vieve powder in front of me. I'm not entirely sure why I then switched to using the e.l.f. Halo Glow powder, especially under my eyes. If I remember correctly, I don't particularly like this powder under my eyes or sort of certain areas of my face because it does have that glow about it. After lightly dusting some powder under my eyes, I then go in with a powder puff. I do it this way so that I don't go straight on with a powder puff on top of wet concealer and end up with like chunks of powder stuck under my eyes. And this is just to prove that I was in fact on the phone for this whole recording. My friend is absolutely like cracking me up in the background. I then went in with my second layer of the Vieve Invisiveil setting spray. If you haven't tried this, it smells like a spa. Sometimes I'm a bit funny with like fragrances and I prefer unscented products, but this scent in particular is amazing. After wiping off the foundation from my lips, I lined and slightly overlined my lips with the Fenty lip liner in, I believe, which one did I use? I think this one it's called Thigh something. Let me check. Extra Thigh is the shade, and it's like a dark pinky brown, but it's really good if you want to create that kind of ombre look. So I also blended it in towards the centre of my lips and then went in with Brat, which is a Vieve lipstick in a really nice, well, I say nude colour, but it depends on your skin tone really, but it's like a pinky brown, but lighter than the lip liner I use. Actually, watching this back now, this whole look and combo is kind of giving me 90s vibes. The eyes and the lip are giving more cool toned than I guess I realised at the time. But yeah, very 90s. After cleaning up the lips with a small amount of concealer on a liner brush, I then applied a Kiko gloss. I don't actually know the name of the shade I use, but I'll include all of the details of everything in the box below. I initially tried to apply it using a brush so that I wouldn't transfer the colour of the lipstick back into the gloss tube, pot, whatever you want to call it, but that didn't really work. So what I ended up doing was using the applicator from the gloss and then wiping it between each application just to avoid the gloss changing colour. Again, we have another rogue step in this makeup routine. I then applied a liquid highlighter. I'm not sure if that's something that's typically done. I would usually apply liquid and cream products before I set the face. I'm not sure whether it really matters, but I think with some bases, products like that can pick up and make the base look patchy. At this point, I did notice that my under eyes were looking a little cakey, so I went back in with the damp beauty blender to try and fix that. It was probably because of that extra layer of setting spray that I didn't need. After applying a light layer of the NYX Butter Bronzer, I then went in with this really nice Kiko blush, and it has a really slight shimmer to it that reminds me of the Milani Baked blushes. So this is the finished look. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.